Hey everybody, I'm Jack Hammer, and tonight the San Francisco 49ers at 3-5 will look to snap an 8-game home losing streak and keep their playoff hopes alive when they take on the Los Angeles Rams at Levi Stadium. The last time the 49ers won a game at home was in October of 2020 when they defeated these Los Angeles Rams 24-16. Let's take a look at my 5 questions to watch out for tonight. Number 1, Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he going to be able to reach 300 yards passing for the third week in a row? Garoppolo has thrown for 300 or more yards in back-to-back games twice in his career. However, he's never been able to do that 3 times in a row. And he's never even been able to reach that total once against the Rams. Despite the lack of a 300-yard game, Garoppolo has been very successful against Los Angeles with a career record of 4-0. Garoppolo's last victory over the Rams was also that last home victory for the 49ers at Levi Stadium. In that game, Garoppolo completed 23 of 33 attempts for 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. If he can duplicate that kind of performance, as well as not turn the ball over, he might have a chance to win tonight. The problem, though, is that in his 4 starts against the Los Angeles Rams, he has committed 6 turnovers, 5 of those through interceptions, and 1 with a lost fumble. All right, let's look at number 2. Can the 49ers offensive line neutralize the Los Angeles pass rush? As of trying to keep Aaron Donald and his 6 sacks, along with Leonard Floyd and his 7.5 sacks off your quarterback wasn't already a tough challenge, Monday night should mark the debut of Von Miller for the Rams. Los Angeles added the 3-time All-Pro when they sent their 2nd and 3rd round draft selections in 2020 to Denver at the beginning of November. Miller currently has 4.5 sacks on the season, which would be the 3rd most for the Rams. The 49ers will need to try and do this without having Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. He was lost for the season last week when he tore his quad muscle against Arizona. With McGlinchey out, San Francisco is going to be turning to either Tom Compton or Jalen Moore. I would guess that it's going to be Jalen Moore. But just so you know, Compton made 3 starts last season for the 49ers. Never finished them. He was replaced in each of those at some point in the game by Colton McKivitz. Moore has already made 1 start in his rookie year when he stepped in for Trent Williams against Indianapolis. Williams has primarily played on the left side this season, but he's been getting a lot of practice over on the right side this week, so he's ready if he's called upon. Next up, number 3. Will the 49ers secondary be able to contain Matthew Stafford? Facing rookies Justin Fields and then last week backup Colt McCoy, over the last 2 weeks, the 49ers secondary has forced only 12 incompletions. This week, the secondary gets to face a quarterback with the best rate in the NFL at 111 in Matthew Stafford. Los Angeles acquired Stafford through a trade with Detroit to upgrade the position, and so far, this season has paid off. In addition to having the top rating, Stafford is 3rd in the NFL in passing yards per game with 307.9 and 2nd in touchdown passes with 23. The 49ers hope to have safety Jimmy Ward back this week after he missed the Arizona game a week ago. The veteran could help due to his leadership on the back end of a defense and as well as his sure tackling, both things that were missed last week. Having Ward could provide a boost, but San Francisco will need to have a big game out of their pass rush as well. The Los Angeles offensive line has been terrific in pass protection this season, allowing the 4th lowest sack percentage in the league. And also for the 49ers, this is where a big struggle is because with the exception of Nick Bosa, San Francisco has struggled with even getting to the quarterback. Bosa has recorded 17 hits on the quarterback through the first 8 weeks of the season, while no other player has more than 4. Second on the team being Arden Key with his 4, as well as Dee Ford has 4 as well, but Dee Ford, as you all know, is out on the injured reserve list. All right, let me see if I got any questions really quick. Hey, Warren, it's good to see you too. Sorry I was making you feel bad earlier with my comments on the quarterback situation in terms of the guy out in New England there, Mac Jones. Who should start at cornerback? I think the starting cornerbacks, Josh Norman is fine, along with Emmanuel Mosley. But if there's any issue there with either one of those, especially with Norman, I would definitely like to see Diamondre Lenore come into the game and take his spot. That looks like it's what's going to happen this week. Diamondre Lenore and Ambry Thomas have both somewhat been inactive over the last few weeks, but with Drake Kirkpatrick being injured, I would expect to see Lenore and Thomas both up, with Lenore most likely being the first off the bench in case they need to replace anybody on the outside. All right, let's jump over to question number 4. Let's see what that's going to be. Can Kyle Shanahan get back to his offensive identity? One of the first things that comes to mind when you discuss the 49ers offense under Kyle Shanahan is running the football. During San Francisco's run to the Super Bowl in 2019, they ran the ball nearly as often as they threw it. 49% of the time was run to 51% pass. This season, though, that number is heavily skewed towards the pass, as it was last year. Through the first 8 games, the 49ers offense has ran the ball on only 43% of their offensive snaps. With a defense that is struggling to get off the field, a successful run game could become San Francisco's best defense. I don't believe it's a coincidence that when the run game has been featured during all 3 wins this season. So look for tonight to have Elijah Mitchell get somewhere in the area of 17 to 19 carries. That's about been his number, with the exception of the 2 games against Arizona. So if he can get in there in that 17 to 18, 19 range, and then you have Jeff Wilson Jr. and Trey Sermon, those are the 2 backs that you have coming off the bench this week because Jermichael Hasty is out with an injury. That gives you a lot of beef in the backfield. There's really no drop-off in terms of the size of these guys and their ability to run inside. I would hope to see the 49ers have a somewhat of a run-heavy look tonight to kind of try to grind that clock down and keep that Los Angeles offense off the field. And I just think that gives them the best chance of winning, because if they can get that run game rolling, it'll open up their play action, and that always helps Jimmy Garoppolo. Adrian asks, Jack, who are the rookies that are suiting up for this game? Well, we know that Elijah Mitchell is going to be suited up. With Jermichael Hasty being out, I would expect to see Trey Sermon. We also know that in the secondary, Drake Kirkpatrick is out, so that means that would signal to me that we're going to see Diamond Lenore back up and active this week. Ambry Thomas was active as well last week, so I'd expect to see both of those guys as active, along with you have your starter in the secondary in Talanoa Hufanga. So I think you're going to see pretty much everybody. You might even see Brandon Moore you might even see Aaron Banks this week up, and I would hope to see Jalen Moore starting at right tackle. He definitely got some work over there on the right side this week. They do that anyway during practice, but definitely he had some reps over there this week, so I would hope to see that. I'd rather see Jalen Moore starting at right tackle than Tom Compton. All right, let's jump over to the next one. Last but not least, will the 49ers play a clean game? This is the biggest question, and I asked the question earlier today. What are the 49ers going to need to do in order to win tonight? And one of the things that kept coming up was just holding on to the football. The 49ers currently 2 games under 500, and a lot of the reason is because their offense has continually shot itself in the foot. You got penalties, drop passes, and turnovers. Specifically, the turnovers is what a lot of people were focusing on today, and I would say even hold the drops as well. The Rams defense, though, has forced the 8th most turnovers this season with 14. So the 49ers are going to have the work cut out for it when holding on the ball. And when you look at the Rams defense, it's particularly been the pass defense that's been able to turn the ball over. They forced 12 interceptions while allowing only 10 touchdowns so far this season. So that secondary of Los Angeles is pretty good. Another reason that you're going to want to try to run the ball to maximize your ability to keep the ball away from Los Angeles. On the opposite side, you have San Francisco. The 49ers have turned the ball over in all in all but 2 games this season. I'm choking up just like the offense usually does when they have the ball in their hands. If they have any chance to pull off the upset tonight, they're going to need to make sure that this is the 3rd time that they hold on to the ball without any turnovers, because it's going to take that kind of an effort. Anytime you're up against a big-time opponent like the Rams, who's 7-2, you just cannot be making those kind of mistakes like they've made. Say they maybe get away with, against the Lions, for example. You're not going to be able to get away with those kind of mistakes in a game tonight. Even against Chicago, turning the ball over against Chicago, that's a different story than the Rams defense like we're going up tonight. So definitely some things to keep an eye on there. And then what I would say is my prediction for tonight. And this one, there's a lot of, I could actually say that this is probably going to be might be even a little closer than this number the more I think about it, just based off of some of the things with the Rams. But if you look at what the Rams offense has done this year and what the defense has done, I'm going to go with the Rams winning tonight by a score of 31-21 over the 49ers. Just the only way the 49ers win this game is if they don't turn the ball over and they force a couple of turnovers. The offense has moved the ball up and down the field uh, over the last few weeks. We've seen them do a really good job. Even last week against Arizona, the offense moved the ball much better than they have for most of the season against that Arizona defense. You have two fumbles though. The Kittle fumble and the fumble by Ayuk are huge, as well as the drop pass on some of the drop passes. The drop pass by George Kittle on the first possession of the game on a pass down the seam was a big one. The drop pass on the third possession of the game, I believe it was, or second or third possession of the game by Deebo Samuel, which takes a second and 15, and instead of having third and 5 or shorter, you have a third and 15, and they're having to punt it away again. So the 49ers just need to play a clean game tonight, and have out, and that's, I think, the only way that they're going to come out. If there's any kind of a turnover, if they are minus at all in the turnover margin, I don't think there's a chance for the 49ers tonight. So that's my quick little game preview. Just kind of looking over the notes to see if there's any other questions. Adrian asked another one. Do you think we stop the Rams run game tonight? That's going to be tough. The 49ers haven't really stopped the run game of teams all year long. They've kind of been up and down. But sometimes what you see is like a game like last week against Arizona where you're just gashed like they were. You see teams come back the following week and step it up and do a better job. And so hopefully this week they'll be able to show some improvement over where they were a week ago. If they can just stop those big explosive runs from happening and keep those gains to 2, 3, 4 yards and really force LA to drive the ball down the field and not be able to get big plays with those explosive plays like we've seen them be able to get, and the Niners defense gave up last week, I think the 49ers might have a chance to win the game. And it definitely is going to start with stopping the run. As crazy as it sounds, and as good as the quarterback is for Los Angeles, if you can make him one-dimensional and take away the run game and force Stafford to beat you through the air, I think you might have a better chance if you can make them one-dimensional of stopping this offense this week. So we'll see how that plays out. Kid Lowe says Trey Lance needs to get packages tonight. He has been effective whenever he's on the field. That wouldn't be a bad idea to see him get out there for a snap or two here and there, or maybe even a series, around midfield. If they take over around midfield, that would be kind of a cool deal, really, for the 49ers. If they get the ball out there, that's kind of the spot that you'd want to put him in, and put him out there, and not for a play or two, but let him run the series, and let him get some experience that way. We haven't seen him on these big nationally televised games really, other than a couple of plays against Green Bay. But if they can put him in for a series or something like that, that'd be good to see with Lance. Caesar says 24-21 Niners. I like the positivity there. But we know that Tart's not playing. Ward maybe. I haven't heard anything yet, and I actually been pretty busy this morning, so just getting into the 49er stuff as I've been on the road up. So I'll get some more information for you on that one, Matthew. Follow up on Twitter, and hopefully I'll have an update for you on that one here pretty soon. Let's see what else we got. Pioneer says, do you think McVay's offense will challenge Hufanga? And if so, do you think Hufanga will improve from last week in coverage? That's the deal with Hufanga. I think they're going to try to take advantage of Hufanga because we know it because we see him every week, and I'm pretty sure the Rams know it too, that if they can get him matched up one-on-one or force him to cover deep, they're going to take shots at him. And so definitely think that McVay is going to want to challenge Hufanga for sure. And I think Hufanga, we know who he is when it comes to his pass coverage. When he has to turn and run, he's not quite quick a foot enough to be able to keep up with those receivers. He needs to really keep everything in front of him. So if they can get him in a situation where he's going to have to turn and run with the receiver, they're going to win that battle. You know that McVay saw on tape what Arizona was able to do a week ago. So hopefully between McVay trying to scheme it up and the 49ers with D'Amico Ryans, hopefully Ryans is able to put together a plan tonight that allows him to not have Hufanga be matched up in that kind of a matchup where he's going to have the chase receiver down, because that's not his strength. His strength is to be Hufanga is a really good box safety. That's what he's best at. He'd be a great guy at linebacker as well if they ever decide to move him there, if they have enough safeties to do that, because that's really where his strengths are. When you watch him play the game, that's where he excels, is that linebacker dropping up and coming up and making the tackles. And he could probably run with the tight ends and running backs. He just doesn't have the wheels to do it with the wide receivers. Donald asked, do you think we have another big game from Ayuk? Him and Debo are so exciting when the ball comes away. I think so. I think, the more they throw the ball to Brandon Ayuk, the better he does, because he's got great hands. He's going to drop a ball here and there every once in a while, but for the most part, he doesn't drop them too often. He makes more tightly contested passes than anybody else that I've seen on the team, and definitely want to see him get the ball a little bit more tonight, and maybe even see him be the guy that gets some of these screens and things like that to go to Debo, just to get them a little bit of a change up. And Gav, how are you doing, Gavin? Hopefully you're going to be able to stay awake out there in Wales. It's going to be a long one for you tonight. But are the 49ers going to win another home game in my lifetime? You're a young guy, so I'm pretty sure they'll win at least another home game in your lifetime. I'm not sure about this year, but they'll win another one in your lifetime. Now they're going to win a game. They still have. You got to remember, they have the Houston Texans on their schedule at home later on this year. So there's going to be at least one home win, I think, on the schedule if they're not able to do it before then. The coach says that Hufanga's issue is he stops his feet in pass coverage, allows receivers to get up on him fast because he's not disciplined with his eyes. He's always peeking in the backfield. That's part of it. He definitely does peek and look, but he's also just he's a 4'6", 4'7" guy, I think was his 40 time. So there's a little bit something to the lack of speed as well with Hufanga. Who might get more third wide receiver reps? This is a good question, Billy. It's either going to be who's it going to be? That's a good question. Juwan Jennings would be one of them, and the other one is I'm blanking on his name. The guy they got from Arizona. Shoot, I'll tell you right now. Hold on, give me a second. Sherfield. So it's going to be between Sherfield and Jennings. I'm going to lean more towards Sherfield because Sherfield has the size that the 49ers tend to like out of that third wide receiver position. That guy's usually a bigger, more sure-handed type of receiver. But I'm going to go with Jennings there. But I wouldn't be surprised at all for it to be like Gavin says over there in the comments and have it become Sherfield. So it's going to be one of those two. Like I said, I would hope that I would kind of expect to see Jennings. But Sherfield is a guy who really impressed. We know he's going to be active today because of his play on special teams. So they may roll with him as that third receiver. See, the coach here, he agrees with me. He says he'd say Jennings for the run blocking. That's kind of what I'm thinking, especially if we're going to see. It depends on what their game plan is going to be. If they're going to be going with a little bit more of a run-heavy game plan, then I would expect to see a receiver like Jennings out there doing the blocking. Because Jennings, in that way, Jennings is kind of like Robert Woods. Because that's the one thing with that I'm interested to see tonight is how the Rams are able to manage without Robert Woods. Forget about Woods from a receiver standpoint. Woods was a really good run blocking wide receiver, and his ability to block as a receiver is part of what has allowed Sean McVay to transition from a 12 personnel coach. By 12 personnel, I mean one running back and two tight ends, to more 11 personnel, where he's got one running back and three wide receivers on the field. And a lot of that was because Woods was such a good run blocker that he was almost like a quasi tight end on the field anyway, but a lot more explosive. So we'll see how that plays out tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how the Rams adjust without Robert Woods on the field. I'm not going to say that's going to make a big difference in the game because we've seen plenty of times this year where the 49ers have had opponents with big guys missing and haven't been able to take advantage of it. So just something that'll be interesting to watch as the game plays out tonight. Let's see what else we've got. Adrian says, if we get pressure up the middle against Stafford, I feel like we have a chance. Yeah, and that's a good one. Actually, I saw, in my question is how did the 49ers win tonight? Vish from Vish and Blake Sports, and as well as Mondays with Vish with Grant Cohn. He responded saying that very similar, getting pressure in the middle. I think anytime quarterbacks don't like pressure in their face, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't like the 49ers moving on from DeForest Buckner. Whatever you want to say about the other guys, they don't like people in their face. They don't like that pressure right up the middle. And if we'll see how it works out tonight. If Eric Armstead can have a big game, and then you're looking at DJ Jones or how are the 49ers try to play that? Usually in the middle you have DJ Jones and uh, and Eric Armstead when it comes to those passing downs, and Armstead's been playing defensive tackle all the way through anyway the last couple of weeks. But if those guys can really get some pressure up in the middle and into the face of Stafford, you might see some success there. And hopefully that pressure when you start to hit the quarterback, that's usually when you start to get those cheap turnovers that you wouldn't expect otherwise. Pioneer asked, do you see Kyle play calling early like last week when we were moving the ball before the fumbles, or do you think he'll involve the run the most in this game this season to restrict receiver fumbles? Uh, I think we're going to see a little bit more of like what we saw against Chicago. You're going to see a little bit more of the normal 49ers offense, not so much of this gun um, and spread out. You might see them spread out a little bit, but you're not going to see so much of this gun. I think you're going to see Garoppolo under center a little bit more, a little bit more of the run game coming at them. I just think they're going to want to try to attack the defense through the run, try to soften them up a little bit, get that clock spinning, and I think that's partly how they're going to try to keep Stafford off the field. The problem with that for the 49ers is that they just haven't been able to maintain and sustain drives that take a long time. Generally, they've struggled with that. Usually, their scores come off of explosive drives. So it'll be interesting to see if the 49ers can hold on to the football long enough on drives where they can spin the clock more than 3 or 4 minutes. Because usually those drives are only 3 minute scoring drives. It seems like because they go so fast because it's one big play after another. And then tonight, you've got the running back, you've got Jeff Wilson. I think that's the other part too. Having Jeff Wilson and Trey Sermon as your number 3 back is probably going to be Jeff Wilson. I just like that better than Jermichael Hasty. Nothing against Hasty. I like Hasty as a receiving back, but I don't really like him as my third down back where I'm going to put him in the shotgun and run him up the middle like they tend to do. So I think we're going to see maybe some Wilson or Sermon doing that tonight. I already answered your question, Varuna, I think with somebody else as far as the run game. Let's see what else. Will the narrative change tonight that Kyle always owns McVay? I think that's a little bit of a false narrative. I mean, I know that the 49ers have done well against their Los Angeles over the last couple of years, but early on in this matchup, it was definitely McVay. And McVay might have a little bit of, or excuse me, Shanahan might have a little bit of the upper advantage. I mean, he did work quite a bit as more of the mentor role over McVay. But I think that McVay has the better team. He has the better quarterback. He has the better defense in general coming into this game tonight. And you might see a little bit of this. That whole narrative is an interesting one. I do understand that Kyle has gotten over on McVay more often than the other way around. But McVay's always got, in order to be a playoff team in the NFL, you've got to be able to beat teams outside of your division. And although McVay struggled against the 49ers, he's done very well against everybody else. All right, let's see what else we got. With Cardinals' big loss yesterday, can Rams win the division for sure? I think that the whole deal when it comes to the Rams winning this division and the Cardinals, how long is Kyler Murray going to be out for? If Kyler Murray misses the full 3 weeks or whatever, like they're saying, I think that's a bigger issue for Arizona, and that allows LA to kind of maybe steal a game here or there. We'll see what happens with that matchup as the season goes along. There's a pretty good chance because right now Arizona holds the tiebreaker, so I think it's going to be eventually. I think you'll see the Rams probably overtake them. Well, this is a good question. I like this one. Stefan says, "Yo, Jack, whose stock is going to rise tonight?" That's a good one. That's a really good one. Uh, I wish that I had you guys on here so I could hear what you thought it was going to be. Um, whose stock is going to rise tonight? Let's go with Trey Sermon, just because a lot of these other rookies that haven't, as far as most of these guys, when you're talking about the stock going up, it's mostly going to be we're looking mostly at the younger guys. And I think we already know what we have in Jeff Wilson Jr. So I don't think even if he plays and he plays good, I don't think it's going to change very much. Elijah Mitchell, we could pretty much his stock's already pretty high. If Sermon can get into the game and get 4 or 5 carries and be really helpful, I think that's a big bonus for them. And it'll be interesting to really see what happens up front. If Jalen Moore starts at right tackle tonight and he plays well, and it could be him, even though we've already know a little bit about Jalen Moore. If Jalen Moore starts tonight at right tackle and he's able to go in there and step in there and hold the zone at right tackle like he's done at left tackle, then that's the guy that's going to get the biggest of the risers. Because on the defensive side, I don't really see anybody over there who we haven't already thought of as a top level guy, if that makes sense, or where there's really any kind of stock that's going to rise. I don't think we're going to see Ufonga stock rise tonight. I don't think we'll see it with Yammer Lenore or Ambry Thomas. So I would say I'm going to go with Jalen Moore. That's a lot of talking for me to convince myself that the answer tonight would be Jalen Moore if he starts at right tackle. Do I think that Jordan Willis is going to help the pass rush? He's a decent depth piece. We'll see. Last week he didn't really do a whole lot, but maybe this week he'll be able to step up. Last week I think was his first game back. So maybe this week he'll be able to come in and help them out, because they definitely need somebody other than Nick Bosa to cause trouble in the backfield. With it mostly being Bosa like we've seen so far, that's an issue for the 49ers that they need to address. Waruna talking to Gavin says, we're going to put Aaron Donald in his place. We're just at the line of scrimmage, no inch beyond that. I'm fired up. Okay. I like that, Waruna. He's fired up tonight. But the one thing with that was, hey, maybe we're going to see a bunch of Jimmy Gimmies tonight. Maybe we're going to see a bunch of those little jet sweeps and those kind of things to help take away the pass rush, kind of like what we saw last year when these two teams played up here. And then Ryan says, I got to fix my mic. Too much crackling and popping. Can't listen to that. I agree. I need to definitely get a better mic set up, so I apologize for that. And that's something that's in the works as the channel continues to grow and I'm able to afford the upgrade. So definitely something that I want to do there. But it's about 3 o'clock now. I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to get in and start getting ready for the game tonight. But I hope you all enjoy the game. Thank you for jumping on with me. If you like the content, please like and subscribe and hit some comments. I will be back with you all after the game to discuss my thoughts and kind of share what I think. We'll kind of go back over these 5 topics that we talked about here and see how those turned out, and then just kind of do an overall discussion of the game. Might even throw on the link out there so you guys can call in and yell at me for a few minutes afterwards. So have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your Monday night, and take care. Thanks, y'all, for joining.